Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Sunday, November the 17th. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for stopping by. We are going to recap this 23-13 Titans loss today. Titans fall to 2-8 on the season. A lot of things to kind of digest out of this football game that are worth getting into, but one of the biggest things that continues to be a talking point, and really it's across all levels of football. I don't watch high school football. I'm sure it's a problem there too, but in college and in the NFL, the state of officiating is horrendous. And I'm not going to sit here and do an entire show about how the officiating cost directly the Titans the game, because I don't think it directly cost them the game, just as I don't think it directly cost them the game last week in Los Angeles. But it is one of the biggest things that is worth talking about when you're looking at teams and the margin for error and where opportunities are basically given or taken away and left entirely in the hands of the officials without any level of repercussions when the officials get it wrong. And again, there were egregious calls in this game. It's not the only reason the Titans lost. They were not the better team against the Minnesota Vikings. Every other error that they made that was not officiating related is some of the same stuff we've been talking about all year, though there was progress. And, I came away, it's going to be weird, and we're going to talk about it later in the week. I came away feeling okay about Will Levis. I don't know if he's outright going to make me rethink it after 2 weeks, but with 7 more to go, there's stuff to dig into. But that almost gets wiped away when you're talking about a 51-yard touchdown wiped off the board and 2 huge calls directly leading to Minnesota points, coupled with the insult to injury that was the crowd at Nissan Stadium today. I mean, I know Titans fans don't want to hear about not showing up or whatever, and I'm not here to wag a finger at Titans fans for not being there for their 2-7, now 2-8 football team. But I'm looking around at the circumstances today, even though it's not drastically changed from 2-7 to 2-8. It just is so much more visceral when you see how hostile the home environment has become for the home football team, because fans understandably so have checked out on them as a live event option in attendance. So we'll work our way through a variety of these things tonight. If we don't get to it tonight, damn sure we'll get to it on 3 hours of radio tomorrow, because there's a lot to dig into. We'll look at the best, the worst, and try and, turn things around with a little bit of Sunday Fun Day, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch, wherever you're spending your time with us. Share the show around if you would be so kind. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, all those same places. You can share the broadcast, retweet it on Twitter, share now to public, bottom left-hand corner of your screen on Facebook Live, YouTube, or Twitch. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, copy the link, paste it in a text message to a buddy, and send it to them, because damn sure they want to bitch about officiating as well. Not that the NFL is rigged or anything, and I don't buy off on this script crap, but I just don't understand how in back-to-back weeks we're talking about the Titans being, I don't have a problem saying, victimized by a bunch of dog shit calls by officiating crews that just don't seem to have any repercussions as far as their actions, their performance, their behavior, and so on. So we'll work our way through those things tonight. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time. From the Zen Sports Studio, I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by Zen Sports. No matter what you're betting, no matter win, lose, or draw, Zen Sports always makes the betting process better. Go to zensports.com for more information. And get in on the action there. Of course, the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, the official real estate agent of the Preds, who are also a mess, by the way. Nashville Predators. GaryAshton.com will get you right. Gary Ashton, don't sell without the intel. Two Rivers Ford, quality American-made Ford vehicles, award-winning customer service. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. And TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch, where your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout, recycled, or repeated. Just go to TrueMav Fitness today. There are a lot of people who are agreeing with the assessment, who are joining the conversation here tonight. Bill Truesdale, who I don't think I've seen in our broadcast before. So hi, Bill. Nice to have you. Or at least first time I've seen you comment, says, also, Buck, the officiating is just horrible. Yeah, that's basically the way that I started the show. The college level, there was calls all over the place that were missed in the college football Saturday. The NFL, I haven't seen the full NFL slate, obviously, covered the one game today, was there for the bulk of that in press conferences, so I haven't gotten to kind of fully catch myself up to speed on everything else happening around the league, but I see everything that happens around the league eventually, right? I get to it Monday or Tuesday after covering one game on Sundays, but in these games that I'm covering, it's wild. It's wild to be having that conversation. It's wild to be having to request yet another what we call pool reports, where we send one representative of the pool for both the Vikings and the Titans media, for both the home and the away media, and we send them to talk to the head official. In this particular game, the head official was Clete Blakeman regarding controversial calls that occur in games. Last week, it was the strip sack, recovery, touchdown that wasn't a touchdown that New York, after the refs in the game in Los Angeles, told Brian Callahan that call was going to stand, then went to replay in New York. New York said, no, we have the angle that none of you have seen. We've gone frame by frame with this angle that none of you have seen, and we have determined that's an incomplete pass. We did the same thing this week where we requested an interview essentially with one of us and the head of officiating, and this was specific to the unnecessary roughness call that was called on Mike Brown, Titan safety, with Jordan Addison, the Vikings wide receiver, in the end zone, among several controversial calls today. But that was the one that deserved the most scrutiny by the NFL. That was the most egregious mistake that was made. And that is the thing that makes you particularly insane, because there are places where this football team is showing you, okay, they're capable of at least competing on a baseline level. And that's the kind of thing that you're trying to figure out. You're trying to evaluate your football team. You're trying to, you're not going to the playoffs. You're not winning the Super Bowl. You're not winning the division this year, whatever. So there are things that still matter in these games that even losing by a closer margin than basically a 17-point swing decided by officiating in some form or fashion, you are outright depriving one NFL team on the field in the last 2 weeks of the opportunity to even show that baseline meaningful level of growth and development that would translate into a win. These things matter. Will Levis he didn't get as choked up today as Brian Callahan did after the Patriots win a couple of weeks ago, right? You saw the emotion. You heard his voice crack when he's talking about Tony Pollard. Ask him a simple follow-up, how much did you need this? And he's clearly visibly shaken about it. I needed it bad, right? Will Levis is up there, not quite to the same extent. He comported himself. He caught himself a little better than Brian Callahan did, but he hasn't quarterbacked the team to a win all year. And I said it on the pregame show today. He hasn't quarterbacked the team to any win since December 12th of last year. It's craziness. So these things do matter. Even if you look at a team like the Titans against a team like the Vikings and say, yeah, that team should lose anyway. You're right. They should lose anyway. They were a 5.5 point or 6 point, depending on where you got them, underdog at home. They have 2 wins on the season for a reason. There are so many different reasons why the Titans lost this game today that aren't to do with officiating, but you're just looking to give them something to build on. And I'm not asking for the Titans to be, you guys know me. I don't give a shit to cape up for the Titans when they don't deserve it. But damn, if I don't think that they've deserved better in the last 2 weeks. And it's maddening to watch this play out in real time. So I know I've gone on a bit of a diatribe to start the show here without asking you guys your Two Rivers Ford take. But of all the things that I'm trying to learn more about Will Levis. I'm trying to learn more about Brian Callahan, all these different things to try and give you guys the best semblance that, as much substance in 7 weeks remaining as humanly possible. And yet here I am again talking about officiating and things like that because they've directly impacted my ability to evaluate, the coaching staff's ability to show growth and proof of concept and kind of prove to their locker room that, yeah, if we do these things, we can win. They are doing things sufficiently that would at least put them in position to win. And yet they've been on the wrong side of these things for the last 2 weeks. And I'm probably in reruns, but I just think it's wrong. I think it's crap. And I legitimately think it does harm to teams like the Titans who, yeah, they're not playing for anything necessarily other than their own pride. And these things matter to trying to continue to show that progress, that proof of concept, to keeping guys engaged in the slog of an NFL season that definitely hasn't gone their way for a million different reasons that aren't refs. But today the refs directly impacted it. And I think I'm not, to say that it's criminal is hyperbolic, but I think it's wrong. I just think it's wrong. That's what it is. So let's get into the Two Rivers Ford take, even though I've started the show with a bit of a rant: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. But now that I've gotten the worst off of my chest, I'll ask you what the worst part of today's Titans loss was, or I will ask you what the worst part of today's Titans loss was here in just a second, right after I remind you that your Two Rivers Ford take is made possible by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. They are the best in the business. They make the car buying process fast, easy, and fun. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. They will put you in position to succeed. So with everything that's going on today, what was the worst part of the Titans' loss to the Minnesota Vikings? Because there was things that, things that would discourage you from thinking that this team is making meaningful progress. Again, the right tackle situation was hideous. There were moments where there are just too many opportunities for Minnesota to move the ball with ease down the field. And I know Minnesota's doing that to a lot of teams this year, but I thought that there was too big of a gap basically between what the Titans defense was able to do and what Minnesota's defense was able to do, right? Where you're talking about a defense that ranks towards the top of a lot of counting stats, but it's not the level of efficient that you're looking at on the other side of the ball, right? There are football things to kind of dissect here beyond just the officiating, but you can say that the officiating was the worst thing. In fact, that's exactly what Jeff Simmons is saying. We went into the locker room. It's tough for the players to kind of tiptoe around this stuff, and the coaches, by the way, because just to give you full disclosure, when officiating impacts a game, you have to find ways to ask the parties involved the questions about these plays without being the reason that they lose. I can't think of what the fines are off the top of my head, but let's just say $20,000, $25,000 or $40,000 or whatever the case may be, right? You don't want to be the person that puts the coach or the player in the position to cost themselves money, but you do have to ask about these things. The problem is the NFL is very strict on how much players and coaches are allowed to say regarding direct criticism of the officials. So you're working your way around the question to try and get the subject that you're interviewing, in this case, Brian Callahan or Will Levis or Jeff Simmons, who you're getting ready to hear from. Hey, help us understand the context for you guys of what kind of momentum change calls like that cause, without directly commenting on like the refs and they did such a shitty job or that call was crap or whatever. Help us understand how that directly impacted the game. And that was the thing that we talked to Jeff Simmons about earlier today in the locker room.
At the end of the day, we got to keep playing. It's hard when you're getting calls like that. We agree on a lot of them, but cut my words out because can't comment on officiating. You know how that is, but you know how the NFL get when you talk about officiating. But at the end of the day, everybody got to be held accountable. Maybe some of them, but a lot of them calls in that game, we disagree on it. But at the end of the day, I feel like we still had a chance in that game. Well, I think they only got a field goal in the second half. We came out as a defense, we're going to keep playing. It's hard. It's hard when you getting them type of calls, when you're making plays, you're getting ready to get off the field on third down, what it may be, and we get a penalty. And some of them were late. It's like we coming off the field, I'm celebrating, and you coming flag. So it's like things like that, man, is out of our control. I think we cursed when it comes down to officiating right now. So that's just my opinion on that. Like I said, we can't speak too much on it because we know NFL waiting to find us for that. So
how big a
So that's Jeff Simmons commenting on the officiating today. I want to read this or get into this comment more from Beth about why the NFL is why they are so cautious and have to tiptoe around the NFL specific to the officiating calls. I'll remind you quickly that the primetime program is made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of Remax Advantage, the best real estate agent in Nashville. Don't sell without the intel edge that only GaryAshton.com can provide. So to Beth Grays' comment here, because I do think it's worth reemphasizing. I think it's a fair question. Buck, honest question. Why is the NFL so strict on criticizing the officiating crews? If the NFL won't hold them accountable, then the coaches at least should be allowed to talk about it. Why, yes, Beth, that's entirely sensible. And I don't disagree with your position at all. I believe that players should be able to comment. I believe that coaches should be able to comment. And I think that's a completely fair place to put officiating criticisms, because they get criticized by media and fans. Officials get criticized by media and fans. I understand that you are, it's a different kind of, you're trying to leverage your situation if you're a coach or you're a player to try and get a better call, or maybe go at a crew that particularly emphasizes calls on you. You feel like that it becomes a whole different situation. But the real reason why the NFL is so harsh on it is because the officials are the extension of the league. And the league does not want to be criticized, especially not by the people who work in the league, by the players and the coaches. You don't see players and coaches taking out Roger Goodell. So it's not like Goodell is out there, as the back judge or as the linesman or whatever the case may be, right? Roger Goodell is not out there throwing flags on unnecessary roughness on a 4th and goal stop by Mike Brown, or waving or reviewing the things in the booth, or reviewing the Jeff Simmons strip sack Roger McCreary touchdown that didn't happen back in New York on a frame-by-frame basis, and being like, all right, make sure that they know that you got it wrong and that this is actually the call here. No, it's a direct extension of the league, though, and the league does not want to accept criticism from that. They're certainly not going to take public criticism from people who are involved in it. So it's a keep it in-house type of situation. We'll handle discipline as need be, but the problem is the rest don't get disciplined when they have issues like this. And I acknowledge that the degree of difficulty on these jobs is it's really tough. I would be an awful ref. I acknowledge that, but I'm not a ref. I'm not trying to be. The people who are out here deciding these games, deciding essentially the fortunes of these players out there on the field with the blood, guts, and glory, and all this kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden a piece of laundry entirely changes those fortunes and can directly contribute to momentum swings in these games. So I appreciated Jeff Simmons' transparency on it. He said, he feels like they're cursed. Of course, a curse is not something that you can quantifiably bank on. And it's not like it's not like, I don't know who the head of officiating is off the top of my head right now, but it's not like some ref in New York has a Tennessee Titans voodoo doll that he's just sticking on a weekly basis to try and particularly cause them torture. But it does seem that they just are not the beneficiary of calls hardly at all. And I'm not saying that they should be the beneficiary of more calls. I just would like the same thing that the coaches want, the same thing that the players want, consistency in the officiating. And we simply cannot get that. So that was definitively the worst thing that I saw from today's Titans game. There were a lot of examples of it, but in particular, the Mike Brown 4th and goal stop, right? So this is the situation for the Tennessee Titans. This is the reason why we requested a pool report. They had the 4th and goal stop reversed by what, indisputably a controversial unnecessary roughness penalty. It's called against Mike Brown. It gives the Vikings a fresh set of downs from the one. They're able to punch it in from the touchdown, and then everybody sees the replay on the jumbotron at Nissan Stadium, and it's like, well, no, it's not unsportsmanlike contact to the head or neck area. Mike Brown puts his shoulder pads squarely in Jordan Addison's chest and makes a clean play on a ball that is absolutely fair for him to make that play. He's trying to make sure that he's playing adequate defense. It was a hell of a defensive play, frankly. And then Clete Blakeman and his crew called it unnecessary roughness, put the ball at the 1 for Minnesota, and they ended up punching it in for a touchdown. That was not the only controversial call from the day, but that was the most controversial call from the day. And the explanation from that was, again, not sufficient, where we got it all emailed to us from Titans PR via the NFL, courtesy of Nick Suss, who was today's pool reporter, regarding, and I'm going to read you directly from the email that the league sent all of us with this transcript. Question regarding the unnecessary roughness. This is called Reading with Buck Rising. Welcome to this segment. Regarding the unnecessary roughness on the 4th and 1 there, can you just start by explaining what was the unnecessary roughness on that play in the second quarter? Minnesota 4th and goal at the 1, 7:48 remaining. This is from Clete Blakeman. We had 2 officials call it. Essentially, the defensive player launched into the receiver, who was considered a defenseless player, and the helmet contact to the chest and neck area. Question, follow-up. So, what were the discussions on the field? You said that there were 2 calls. Was there any difference in opinion, or was it complete agreement there? Blakeman, they were in line together. It was just essentially confirming what each guy saw. Follow-up, I know those plays aren't reviewable, but was there any contact from the booth about that play in general, or was it just kind of cut and dry once it was over? Blakeman, nothing came down assist-wise from replay. So this is being decided by the refs on the field, not in New York, like last week in Los Angeles, I had parenthetically. Question, when you looked at the play, did you get a clear view of it? Were you one of the referees that threw the flag? Blakeman, the 2 officials that threw it were the down judge, who was on the line of scrimmage, and his downfield partner, the side judge. So they were both in position close to the end zone. Essentially, they had different angles, but they had good looks. And then there were some follow-up questions about Isaiah Prince's illegal procedure penalties, which also knocked a 51-yard touchdown off the board. But I don't even have time for that shit tonight because we're spending so much time on the officiating. By the way, the illegal procedure things were fair. The Isaiah Prince, they're trying a bunch of different right tackle options, and none of them are good. So we'll get to that tomorrow on the radio, I promise. But for the officials, okay. So launched. Let's take this line by line here. Launched into the receiver. Mike Brown, if you go and look at that play, his feet don't leave the ground. So he's not like launching into the receiver. He's making a tackle and just moving at a high rate of speed. Sure, maybe he looks like he was shot out of a cannon or whatever, but he's not physically launching himself into Jordan Addison on that play. The unnecessary roughness was described as a defenseless player, even though I don't think that fits the definition of defenseless. Again, I'm being arbitrary there. The league may have a different definition that Jordan Addison more meets. But even still, I take issue with that first line there. Essentially, the defensive player launched into the receiver. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Not essentially. Essentially nothing. No, he's just moving fast. He's running at the guy. That's not launching. That's moving forward. I don't know what else you're supposed to do there if you're Mike Brown. And we asked Mike Brown about this because, of course, the call is made. Brian Callahan flips the hell out, loses his mind. He gets a penalty called on him because he is just berating that side judge, and rightfully so. He should. That's awful. And maybe that, I don't know if that buys him points with the team or whatever, but that is the appropriate response. I don't know if he's going to get fined for that, because it was definitely showing up a ref, and it went viral everywhere because that was one of the worst missed calls of the day. But I'm going to let you listen to Mike Brown, the Titan safety, who the play was called on, here in just a second, right after I remind you that Zen Sports is your place to bet this football season. Promo code ATOZTN gets you in on all the action. Terms and conditions do apply, whether you're betting football, basketball, hockey going on right now. Zen Sports has you covered with ATOZTN. The promo code must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports. Gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789. So from Mike Brown's mouth to your ears, let's see what the player felt about the unnecessary roughness call that none of us can really figure out how the hell it was unnecessary roughness.
I mean, I was, feeling the same way as him, but I don't think I could react like that. That's not my position, so I just kind of try to stay chill, calm, and let Coach do what he does.
What did that say to you guys as a whole, to see him stand up for you like that?
I mean, it just shows his passion for the game. Everybody wants to win, so if he feels like something's just not right, he's going to speak his mind. So, I felt the same way as him, but like I said, I can't have the same emotions as him. I don't want to get another flag.
What kind of things did you hear from, you said some Vikings players even talked to you during the game or whatever?
So they came up to me after and was just like they didn't agree with the call. So they kind of like they got away with one. Yeah. It happens. Like it's football. Everybody get flagged on stuff that they didn't think was flagged. Some people miss flags and penalties happen and they don't catch it. But it's just how football is.
Do you really feel like you could have done anything different on that play?
Maybe maybe go for the ball, but everything happens so fast in football. Like, you taking a peek at receiver and quarterback. Maybe I would have went for the ball. It wouldn't even have been.
So that's Mike Brown. And I mean, insult to injury is players on the Vikings coming up to him afterwards and be like, yeah, man, that was a tough call. That shouldn't have gone that way in particular. And I see a lot of people like Patriot Funding Solutions saying, it was clear that the refs, called the game in favor of Minnesota. No, it's not clear to me. And I appreciate, and I get the perspective when you're trying to figure out how are these people so bad at their jobs. And, it's not like NFL or officiating in professional sports hasn't been influenced or impacted before, right? That's to say that it's never happened would be ignorant. Of course, there are too many documented examples of it happening in games, and the penalties associated with those things are stiff. But like, you want it to be scripted because that's the only way that it makes sense. Not that it's just so bad and so inconsistent. How could it possibly be this way? How could it possibly be this bad? Surely they're in on the game, or they've got money on the game, or they've got, all these different things that you come up with in your head to justify what is happening here. The justification is that there's no justification. It's just bad officiating. And I wish that I could offer you a more substantive explanation from that, but that at the end of the day is the root cause. The officiating in the NFL is substandard. The officiating in college football is substandard. We have advanced in these sports to a rate, especially with the views that everybody has. Most importantly, the audience who's watching on television, which is the vast majority of people consuming these games, they have 10 times better view on all of this than the refs do in real time. So we have advanced past the point of the way that we have the refs set up in professional football. Now, are there going to be substantive changes to the way that things are reffed, and how much more advancements can be made when there is such margin for human error in these things, and the human error is clear and obvious to everybody with a 4K TV? I don't know how you go about getting the refs union, the NFL and the NFLPA on the same page as to how to best fix the problem, because there has to be a desire to fix the problem. For the NFL, it's not that deep, right? Controversial calls lead to sports talk television, leads to sports talk radio, lead to higher ratings. Outrage is good for business, even if it's not intended outrage. It's not something that bothers the league. If it was outright bothering the NFL, like the people in New York on Park Avenue, then something would have been done about it by now. But no, because it's questioning the league and the officials are an extension of the league, then the league is content to sit back and say, yeah, but I saw it. Maybe you didn't, but I saw it that way. Oh, you don't like it? Well, tough. We'll throw another flag on you, and we'll let you sit there and yell at our faces, and then we'll move on with our day because we're right, you're wrong, and that's how we get to call these games. It's just unbelievable this way. Freedom says, I don't know if this is sarcasm or somebody who's actually being serious, but I'll read it as if it's sarcastic. Woke NFL, and you get woke calls that look violent. That cannot happen in today's NFL. Oh, so wait, whoa. I have so lost track of what people use the word woke to mean, or if people using the word woke actually understand the origins of that particular word. But so I'm not necessarily, again, I don't know if that's parody or somebody's making a joke there, or woke NFL and you get woke calls. I don't know what a woke call is. I don't know how the NFL is woke. It's one of the least, if you're talking about progressive, it's one of the least progressive leagues out there going, no matter how many times they put end racism in the end zone, as if that's going to fix racism or things like that. So I'm not entirely sure what that's in reference to, but I just, I'll make it a joke like everything else, because this was a joke. This was a joke today. NFL officiating right now is a joke. And, if you try to treat it as anything but that, I wish it didn't have to be taken as seriously as it is, because it directly impacts the results. And that's tough. So that's the worst thing that I saw today. And we've dwelled on that long enough. The best thing that I saw today is something that we will move on with as we get ready to hand you off to Sunday Night Football between the Chargers and the Bengals here on A to Z Sports Primetime. What was the best thing that you saw in this Titans game today? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. We'll talk about it together right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the wonderful people at TrueMav Fitness. Get your workout in at TrueMavFitness.com. No workout ever recycled or repeated. They will be there to help get you in the best possible shape. They will also be there to help you vent about the Titans games because Worth Gamble, owner of TrueMav, is famously a Titans season ticket holder and a long-suffering Titans season ticket holder, and somebody who informed, I believe, his 3-year-old son today just how bad NFL officiating is based on his Instagram story. Either way, if you want to talk Titans, you want to get your workout in, go to TrueMavFitness.com. And if you're in there on Friday mornings, I will see you there because I enjoy the TrueMav Fitness Arm Farm Fridays on Friday morning. TrueMav Fitness for your first workout free. All right. So with everything going on, there had to have been some good stuff, right? Today, there was some good stuff today, but the officiating, of course, will dominate the conversation. What was the best thing you saw out of this Titans? I know it's a loss, no moral victories, 23-13, but whatever. It's, it's a 2-win football team. So let's, you might as well do moral victories somewhere for your own sanity. Leo says Buck has had a great weekend. Getting to ask Vols and Titans fans, how's morale? Christmas came early for Buckman. No, this is bad for me because the Vols were bailing me out on radio. I can't have 3 bad teams that make up the bulk of my listening audience between the Titans, the Vols, and the Preds, who are just terrible. There's something deeply wrong with the hockey team, it's even wilder because they're like the equivalent of the Titans. They spend as much money or an equivalent amount of money in the NHL world to the Titans, and they're just as bad. It's crazy stuff. So no, that's not good for me. I don't, contrary to popular belief, I don't like when you guys are miserable. It's better for me when you guys are enjoying yourselves and enjoying your sports and all these different things. William says, Buck, you forgot about the Grizzlies. No, I didn't. I can't get anybody in Nashville to care about them. Like a substance. I know there's 1 or 2 people every year say, talk Grizzlies. And I said, I would love to, but you represent one person out of, how many other hundreds of thousands of people are in the listening audience for the radio show that just do not give a shit about the Memphis Grizzlies, or will do the woke thing, right? The NBA is woke. Okay, whatever. It's basketball. You either like it or you don't. But I think that with everything going on tonight, there are some positives to take from this game. I know you don't want to hear it because they lost again. But in particular, Levis played his best game of the season. I know they still lost by 10. I know that's the same conversation we were having last week. At some point, these things have to translate to wins. He wasn't perfect, but damned if it's not progress. He's at least making you think about it. For Will Levis today, it's not the best thing that I saw today, but it's definitely a part of the dialogue. And if we're gonna rip him and and be ready to move on from him and all these different things, like every time he makes a script and when he makes progress, I do think it has to be acknowledged. 17-21, 295, a touchdown is a late interception that he threw. Just trying to get the team back in the game, down 10 with, I think there was like a minute and a half left on the clock or something like that when he throws the pick. He would have had a 300-yard passing game and another 51-yard touchdown to Calvin Ridley had Isaiah Prince not had an illegal procedure penalty. He had 3 today. They were terrible, all of them, but that one was the worst because it did negate that touchdown, all because he couldn't get lined up properly after being warned by the refs, which is egregious. I think that Emboy says, come on, Buck, tell the truth. He's not that good. No, listen, I get it. You and I are totally on the same page, but we have told the truth about him. The truth is that he has been objectively bad. Now, since he has come back into the lineup, he has not been bad. He has been middling, which bad to middling is progress. And I have to acknowledge that. It's only fair. Right. I do think that there has to be some fairness in the analysis. It can't just be every week, well, the guy sucks. Well, he didn't suck this week. Like he wasn't Peyton Manning out there, or Tom Brady, or I don't know which quarterback had the best weekend. That Josh Allen didn't play a great game. Mahomes didn't play a great game. I didn't get a chance to see the Ravens Steelers game, so I don't know what Lamar did or didn't do, but I just don't think that it's a fair way to do the analysis on Will. If he is making actual progress, they still do lose games, but you just come away and say, well, it doesn't matter if he made progress. No, he has made progress here. Emboy says, come on, Buck, that's not good. Not that good. Haven't been the whole season. Yeah, no, you're either not listening to me or you don't care what I'm actually saying in response to your questions. There it is. I'm just a little bit delayed in your responses, so I don't want to get too ahead of myself. You understand my point, though, right? There just has to be some balance in the criticism. And you can be critical of Will, and you cannot. And you can be done with Will Levis in the future and not want him to be your quarterback next year, but also still acknowledge, hey, okay, he did some things well today that maybe he wouldn't have done a month ago or something like that. That has to be a part of it. Can't just be one-sided one way or the other. That's how it is. And there can still be criticisms of him, right? He wasn't perfect today. He missed some throws. He held the ball too long. He took too many sacks. These are all fair criticisms. These are all things that he still does. But I thought he played a pretty clean game for the most part. And then, different circumstances got out of hand, and his right tackle situation is terrible, and he had a touchdown wiped off the board, and all these different things that accumulate as to the reason that they lost. But I do think that he was a positive today, including, by the way, the touchdown pass that he threw to Nick Westbrook-Akina, because Nick got loose. Nick made the play down the field. But Levis is the one who threw it down. I mean, he didn't throw it 98 yards. It wasn't 98 air yards, right? But the two of them just tied the longest touchdown reception in the history of the Houston Oilers and Tennessee Titans today.
One of the better pass rushers in the league going to work on third down. Levis taking a shot. He's got Westbrook-Akina breaking free. And the Tennessee Titans right back in it. 98 yards.
That was a great play. I mean, it's 3rd and 10. They're on their own 2. He just quarterback snuck it to try and keep himself from getting a safety. And then he just zips it. I mean, it's not let's look at the play again. Where did the ball actually get caught? Like, how many yards through the air did that travel before NWI took it the rest of the way? Let's watch it again, courtesy of CBS.
One of the better pass rushers in the league going to work on third down. Levis taking a shot. He's got Westbrook-Akina breaking free. And the Tennessee Titans right back in it. 98 yards.
So yeah, that ball, that's a 40 air yard pass from Levis that NWI then takes it the rest of the way, right? He's doing a lot of heavy lifting on that 98 yards, but still 40 air yards through the air, an accurate pass down the field. There were some deep shots that Levis was hitting today. I thought he was more accurate, honestly, last week, but based on the opportunities that were available to him today, I thought he was pretty good. I don't know if and again, the bar is so low. The bar is so low that it has me in my head talking about a 10-point loss is like, oh, but they did some good stuff today. Maybe I don't know if I'm reaching or not. You guys will tell me if I'm full of shit, but I thought he played okay. It just okay. Like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but I thought he played well enough to make you at least give him another week, right? You're not calling for Will Levis's head after today's performance the way that you might have been 2 weeks ago when Mason Rudolph was in the lineup and Levis was on the mend. So I think that there were some things there today that you felt pretty good about, and you could say, okay, well, let's see it. And against the Vikings defense, that matters. That degree of difference. The Vikings defense is a mother to play. Okay, you have no idea how incredibly hard it is to go up against the amount of disguise and confusion and blitzes that Brian Flores will do to you. I thought Levis played it pretty well, honest to God. I thought he was pretty prepared for the moment. And there's just a couple of things that he wasn't perfect on, that he could stand to clean up, but that they're just not a good enough team around him to beat a more complete team like the Vikings. Billy Jordan says, Buck, we're all reaching for something right now. I just don't think it's a reach. I don't think it's a reach. I think it's a complete fair evaluation of Will Levis to say, yeah, he was fine. He was fine today, and fine is progress. Fine is progress, especially against a Vikings defense that everybody looked at and said, oh, they're going to eat him alive. They didn't. He played it pretty well. So that was the best thing that I saw today. Consolation prize, participation trophy, whatever you want to call it. But there are things to look at and say, okay, pretty solid. We do need to watch this video of Brian Callahan screaming, because I didn't get to that. It made me laugh. Obviously, the officiating situation was not fun. Well, it was laughable, but it wasn't funny. And this is just a clip that Robert pulled that I meant to play, and I didn't.
In this situation, lone setback is Ty Chandler. Darnold fakes the pitch. They protect. Simmons coming. That pass incomplete. Addison was leveled by Baker.
44 come in.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense number 44.
That should not be.
Half the distance to the goal line.
physically held back. He is irate.
I don't blame him. You know, I know it's a fine line when it comes to hitting wide receivers in a defenseless position, but Callahan is saying right now, potentially, you have a potential right here to get a big fourth down stop and keep this a 7-3 game. I don't see how you could play it any better if you're Mike Brown.
I know the crowd loved it. I mean, it didn't matter. He just ended up getting another penalty on himself. So it was, but I don't blame Brian Callahan for freaking the hell out. It's exactly what he said. That's horseshit. I'm not going to gratuitously say the F word on a what is supposed to be a family-friendly-esque program, even though we all know that this is not a family-friendly program. Yeah, it was effing bullshit. I mean, I said what I said about it on Twitter. It's dog shit calls against the Titans in the last 2 weeks, and I have no skin in the game really, other than I'm looking at it and then objectively saying, yeah, that's trash. Like, those are trash calls that the refs have made now in back-to-back weeks against this particular team. Maybe I'm just more paying attention because it's happening to this team, and that's the team that I cover. But neither here nor there. I'm sure other people are having issues. Jack says we're all adults here, Buck. No, but you know what? You're all not. Because every once in a while I'll see somebody in here saying, hey, my kid's watching with me tonight. Would you give him a shout out? And I'm thinking, oh my God, did your kid just hear me talk about God knows what on any given day, or just give me an effing hot dog, or all these other stupid things that I do because I'm sitting here in my office by myself after 7 p.m. at night ranting and raving about bad football and not thinking about who's watching me. So no, we're not all adults in here. If you are, you're lying to me half the time, because every once in a while I'll say, yeah, somebody does. Just tell my kid hi. Okay, why is your kid watching this? It's like when I find out how many grade schoolers and middle schoolers are listening to the radio show. They come up, they came up to, a couple of them came up to us at Hattie B's, and they're like, oh yeah, I love the radio show. I'm like, how old are you? Why are you listening to this? I did a bit about Lucas having sex with soccer highlights in his AirPods a couple of months ago. Why are you letting your kids listen to this? It's neither here nor there. Anyway, I think that was the best thing that I saw today. NWI just gets it done. Just gets it done. He's the most reliable playmaker, not named Tony Pollard, on the football field, to his credit. Build a statue to him outside the new Nissan Stadium. It is what it is. All right, Sunday Fun Day. I don't know that I have a Sunday Fun Day for you other than me ranting and raving about children listening to the show. So that's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate your guys' participation. As always, enjoy Sunday Night Football. I know we didn't get to a million different things from this game. We're going to tomorrow. I've got 3 hours of radio. You and I are going to work through it together. We'll have Brian Callahan's press conference be a part of it. I don't think he's going to give you much more description on the officiating. He was pretty short tonight with us, given how pissed he was and how many questions he got about the officiating that he could not comment on because he would lose money. So we'll look forward to a more nuanced and more explanatory press conference with Brian Callahan tomorrow. We'll take your phone calls. We'll have a great time. Maybe we'll even do a bit about Lucas having sex with his AirPods in. That's neither here nor there. Always good to see you guys. By the way, always fun to see you guys. No matter a lot of you, and something we're going to spend time on tomorrow, actually, while I'm thinking about it, because I was just about to say, I love when you guys come up for the pregame show. You get to see Blaine Bishop, who I know so many of you love and loved watching, Brad Hopkins, who I know so many of you love and love watching, and I'm just along for the ride with them on the pregame show. So it's always good to see you guys at Nissan Stadium. But something that we have to talk about tomorrow on the radio show at 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone is the crowd. Because I will tell you this, and I've been workshopping my opinion for tomorrow's radio show, and I didn't want to burn it tonight because I do have to try and differentiate these shows without just giving you guys the same opinions on different platforms. Today's crowd at Nissan Stadium is the kind of crowd that gets somebody fired. And I'm going to elaborate on that tomorrow as to why I think that is a very distinct possibility at the end of this year. But you'll have to tune in tomorrow at 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone. Have a great rest of your evening. See you guys then. We'll look forward to it. You can also stream it on 104.5 The Zone's YouTube channel. If you don't get FM radio, or if you don't want to listen to FM radio, you can subscribe to the podcast, whatever you want to do. See you guys there.
Go home! Go home! Go home! You're embarrassing Nashville. Go home!